What if there was a switch, just 21 miles wide, that could flip the entire global economy from on to off? Well, there is. And it's not hidden in some high-tech lab or on a stock exchange floor. It's a tiny strip of water, and we're about to see just how powerful it really is.
It all starts with something like this, a flash of fire and force. And yeah, this might look like just another conflict in a faraway place, but this single moment, it's the first domino in a chain reaction that could hit your wallet, your gas tank, even what's on your dinner table.
Because that missile, and the whole conflict it represents, has the power to shut down the single most critical artery for the world's energy. So, this is the story of how a regional fight becomes everybody's problem really, really fast.
So how does a conflict blow up so quickly that it can put the entire global economy on the ropes? Honestly, it happens a lot faster than you might think.
Okay, so let's walk through it. It all kicks off in late February 2026. The US and Israel launch strikes against Iran. Iran doesn't wait, it hits back almost right away, targeting military bases in the region. But the game-changing move, the big one, comes in March. Iran decides to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And just like that, the switch is flipped.
And that decision, that shutdown, brings us right to the heart of this whole crisis. It's a place that is, for the world's economy, both incredibly small and unbelievably important. And you have to ask, right? How can one little channel cause such a massive, worldwide headache? Well, when you look at the numbers, the story they tell is, frankly, it's just staggering.
First, let's just get a sense of the scale here. At its tightest spot, the strait is only 21 miles wide. That's it, a distance you could drive in less than half an hour. And it basically holds the keys to our economic stability.
Now here's where it gets really crazy. Through that tiny 21-mile gap, more than a fifth, 21% of the entire planet's daily oil supply passes through. You shut that down, and you've just instantly created a massive hole in the world's energy supply. And we're not just talking about oil. A full quarter of the world's liquefied natural gas also sails right through here. So you see, it's not just a problem for your car, it's a total energy crisis just waiting to happen.
Okay, so we've established what's at risk. But the next question is, how? How could one country actually pull off shutting down such a vital global waterway? Well, the answer lies in Iran's pretty sophisticated missile arsenal.
This table here gives you a really good sense of their reach. I mean, just look at the Khorramshahr missile down at the bottom. We're talking a range of 3,000 kilometers. That means it can be fired from deep inside Iran and still hit ships, bases, and cities all across the Middle East. That kind of range gives them enormous power.
But it's not just about how far they can go. The type of fuel these missiles use is a huge deal strategically. The liquid-fueled ones are powerful for sure, but they take a long time to get ready. You can actually see it happening. But the solid-fueled missiles, whoa, they can be launched with almost zero warning. It's that bolt-from-the-blue capability that makes trying to defend a narrow waterway like the Strait of Hormuz so incredibly hard.
So we've got the conflict, and we've got the weapon. Now, let's follow the money. How does a military action in the Persian Gulf end up making your groceries more expensive? It happens through this powerful chain reaction.
Economists have a name for this, the bottleneck effect. And it's pretty simple, really. Think of it like a traffic jam. A problem in one spot doesn't just slow things down a little bit. It gets bigger and bigger down the line. A disruption in energy creates an even larger disruption for industries that absolutely depend on it, like making fertilizer.
You can really see it unfold in 3 clear steps. First, the energy supply gets hit, and prices go way up. Simple enough. Next, because making fertilizer needs a ton of natural gas, its price goes through the roof. And finally, farmers have to pay way more for that fertilizer. And guess where that cost goes? Yep, it gets passed right on to us at the supermarket.
In this chart, it shows that bottleneck effect perfectly. The data here is from the Kiel Institute. The first energy price shock is about 8%. But just look what happens to chemicals, where fertilizer comes from. The price jumps almost 12%. See, the shock actually gets bigger right in the middle of the supply chain, before it even gets to our food.
You know, these percentages, these economic models, they can start to feel a little abstract. But behind every single one of those data points, there is a real and often devastating human cost.
And here's the really tough part. The burden of a crisis like this is not shared equally at all. For a country like the US, it might mean prices go up a bit. But for developing nations, the impact is just catastrophic. In a place like Zambia, the model predicts food prices could shoot up by over 30%. That's enough to push millions of people into hunger.
The cost is also just so deeply personal. We're talking about a foreign worker in Abu Dhabi getting hurt by falling debris. We're talking about an American pilot shot down and hiding on a mountain for 14 hours, just hoping to be rescued. And it's also Iranian students and scientists thousands of miles away whose work and lives are completely upended by the stress of a war back home.
This quote, wow, it just captures that hidden toll so perfectly. A conflict isn't just about maps and strategy. It's about fractured research, lost potential, and the quiet destruction of the very human progress that science is supposed to represent.
And all of this brings us to one final really big question. This whole global crisis, it was kicked off by a fight over a tiny 21-mile stretch of water. It really makes you wonder, what other hidden, fragile points of failure are built into our complex world, just waiting for somebody to flip the switch?